to Town of Florence Planning and Zoning Commission, regular meeting. Would you please take the roll call?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Prow,
Present.
Commissioner Simmons,
Present.
Commissioner Schmidt did call in advance and let us know he was called into work for tonight. Vice Chair Frost,
Present.
Chairman Pranzo.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Discussion, approval, disapproval of the minutes of the regular meeting conducted on November 7th, 2019. I'll open it up to the commission.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, please.
Please.
I found one typo on page 2. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 6 lines from the top, middle of the paragraph says, agreement, Mr. Harmer stated that the park are submitted with the final plat. You find that okay, Mari?
Yep.
Okay. And with that correction, Mr. Chairman, I would move approval of the minutes from last meeting.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion from Vice Chair Frost, second by Commissioner Simmons. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. New business. This is a presentation and a recommendation for approval or disapproval of a conditional use permit requested by Mr. Bill Bray to allow an assembly building for church services and ancillary daycare within a single residential ranchette. Do we have a presentation?
Yes, we do have a presentation.
Ms. Benitez.
Chairman, members of the commission, we have a application for a conditional use permit from the Desert Rock Church. Representing is Joe Bilberry. Currently, the Desert Rock Church operates at the Academy Leadership at 4380 North Hunt Highway in Florence. And they recently purchased 3 parcels just located west on Franklin Road at 9230. This conditional use permit is towards a primary church or assembly area that will have its services on Sunday. There will also be ancillary uses used on this property, which include small groups, assemblies, study groups, trainings, childcare, and outreach. Stated previously, the location is west on Hunt Highway on Franklin Road. It's just north of some developments that'll be future residential for Anthem. And currently there is a structure on one of the lots. It is a modular home. Otherwise, all the properties around the site are vacant. They submitted early site plans for what they plan to do and where they plan to put the church, and have done their basic research on just the overall development of the site. They will keep the modular, but in the addition there will be the assembly, the main assembly area, and then the parking as well as access onto Franklin Road. Staff recommends the Planning and Zoning Commission send Town Council a favorable recommendation for this conditional use permit with some of the following conditions of approval. And listed are 4 here, and then the rest on this slide.
I believe the commission's had an opportunity to read them. Ms.
Correct.
Benitez.
They are in your packet. With that being said, Are there any questions?
I'll open it up to the commission.
I need to recuse myself. I'm a member of this church, so.
Consider yourself recused.
Mr. Chairman, if I could have a couple of questions. I noted in your conditions here that you talked about the building being allowed to use a septic system until a sanitary sewer is provided. What is their water system out there right now?
They currently have wells out there.
Okay. And just a curiosity question, has your well water been treated since now you're bringing a larger population out there? Is it good quality water, no nitrate problems and other problems that we see in the area?
We've had it tested.
Just a moment. Your name and address for the record.
All right, I'm Pastor Joey Bilbrey, pastor of Desert Rock Church.
Thank you, sir.
And we've had it tested when we started. We currently have 4 children in a daycare out there, so we had it tested and it came back great.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
And then I also noted that you're suggesting that they take the 2 southern parcels and one of the recommendations is to combine those, I assume, because they're working across property lines. And since they own the parcel to the north as well, why don't we just do it all at the same time?
Well, and that would be an option for them, but these 2 parcels would have to be combined in order to provide access to the northernmost of the 2. And also it simplifies setbacks, building setbacks, things of that nature. The one further to the north, if they choose to do that also, that's just of additional benefit. It does simplify tax records and things of that nature. But as far as the actual development and as currently proposed, these 2 would have to be combined.
Right, yeah, I figured this would force because of what they're doing. What's the timeline on doing the other improvements on the southern parcel?
We're wanting to move ahead as soon as possible.
Okay.
Yeah, and actually to help them out, we have been meeting with adjacent property owners, or will be meeting with some of the adjacent property owners who, as it was mentioned to the south, the Franklin 643 LLC. You just heard their final plat, or their preliminary plats a few weeks ago. Final plats are scheduled for December 16th in front of the council, so that one's moving ahead. Also a meeting next week with the owner of the property on the northwest corner of Hunt Highway and Franklin Road for potential development there also. So there may be an opportunity for the various property owners to partner on some of the improvements to Franklin Road.
Very good. So in the interim, I would, from what you've said here, it sounds like you're going to try to maximize the use of the modular home there for biblical study and other things, and then move ahead quite quick with the building of a more bigger gathering area. Is that the general plan?
Yes, that is the general plan. That's what we want to do, is use both. Continue to use the home for those meetings, but then build one that we can have a larger assembly in for Sundays.
Will the home as in its current state allow you to have all of your meetings there, or we still have to use the ALA school as well?
The current home will not, we will only use that current home the way it's being used now.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll wait until we'll continue to rent. The rent, we can only rent there until May. That's what started this process. So we're looking for another place to rent until we can get the building done.
Very good. Thank you. That's all my questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, anyone else?
I have no questions, Mr.
Please,
Chairman.
sir.
No, I have no questions.
Okay. And you're out of the mix.
Chairman, I'm out.
That concludes our presentation.
But I do have a question.
Okay.
I noticed in the language that we used on the agenda that we talk about an ancillary daycare. And do we have any requirements both from the Arizona Revised Statutes or from the town ordinance in terms of permitting a daycare?
Yes, we do. It is contained within the town code that allows daycare and within church facilities. The way the wording in there, the daycare could have gone through as a separate use permit, but since the church wants to develop the entire property as a church, it's just considered ancillary or a side use. But the way our code is written, it would be permitted.
So it's not, no license is necessary?
Oh, no, they still have to meet the state statutes regarding any licensing based on the number of attendees, but they haven't reached that, they're not anywhere near
So that
that.
threshold hasn't been reached.
No, I believe it's 12? I can't recall. I'd have to look up the
There's
number.
a threshold in terms of the amount of children?
Yeah,
Amount of children per adult.
amount of children permitted by state law, but until you have to have a formal license, I think it's 12.
All right, so I'm looking for some advice here. Do I need to make that part of the conditions?
Not really. No, we're monitoring it anyway. We've been working with Desert Rock on this project, trying to, coach them through it to make sure that we cover all the bases. We've had a brief discussions previous as to how the daycare would be operated, and typically the licensing is a simple process. They just have to define the home site for it, and that's what we're doing tonight.
Okay. Do we have any other questions or comments? Well, I'd like to say that I like seeing this sort of thing moving forward in our community. Public gathering, whether it's for religious use or other uses, is part of creating and supporting a community. And Florence can use help in that area. So with that in mind, I'll make a motion that we recommend approval of, it doesn't have a number to it, so we're just recommending the approval of a conditional use permit?
The number is PZ 19-32.
32, subject to the attached conditions of approval. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
So we have motion by Chairman Pranzo, second by Vice Chair Frost. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Motion carried.
Chairman, this will be on the January 6th council agenda for final action.
Great. You're not going to make us work for Christmas?
Would you like to?
No.
Then we'll talk about that shortly, but we're trying to help you out.
Bah, humbug. Okay. Since we're all having so much fun, let's move ahead to the things that we just love to hear about. Presentations, the near and dear to my heart, what I call the downtown redevelopment plan.
Mm-hmm.
How are we doing?
We had the open house, a few weeks back, and a lot of input. They've modified some of the presentation, and we'll make that available so that you have the refined document. There's an online on the town's website. On the front page, there's an online survey available to garner additional input and people's opinions and ideas and thoughts. There are specific questions in there. If you went to the open house, great, but you are still very welcome and encouraged to do the online survey also. And if you didn't go to the open house, you are definitely encouraged to do the online survey. But it gets into some interesting questions, and it allows room for comments and discussion from anybody who wants to offer them on the survey. So the project is moving forward. We're pretty much on schedule right now as we anticipated. I think we'll see the next iteration of plans, land use plans and theme-oriented plans, and we'll be getting into some of the draft text, I would say, over the next 30 to 60 days.
Well, if I understand it right, this was due in January?
No, the contract itself to fulfill it? No, it was going to end up somewhere around May, June, as I recall. The only deadlines that we're dealing with, and we think we're covered on it, there's no issue, with the new state statute that went into effect in calendar year 2018, redevelopment plans were only good for 10 years. So ours is a 2009, but since we initiated the process prior to 2019, then we are compliant with state statute. So that was our only deadline at that point. And then once ours current plan would expire, which was actually in March of 2009, it will stay in place should we need it until the update is completed. And the revised statute has actually given us 2 years of grace to use the old plan. So from a timing standpoint, we're actually very compliant right now.
Great. And it feels good to you that it's moving along the way it should look.
Yes.
I have a question about the redevelopment, the link that's on the town's website. Is that something that we're able to share on social media? Or is the town able to share it on social media and we can share
Let me
it?
double check. I thought it already was, but
Okay.
if not, we can arrange it.
I haven't seen it, so I was, I would have put a link out there if that's something that's we're able to do, just to see if we can get some additional responses,
Yeah.
but
We'll double check it tomorrow.
thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I agree. Going to the town's website is not very high on my priority list. Hell,
Well,
I tried to pay a bill on that thing. That's impossible.
I would agree with you, and that's why I asked about sharing the link directly, or sharing information about the link directly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it is already on there, it would have been on there for, 4 or 5 weeks. So we'll maybe kick it up a notch,
Yeah.
move it forward and just repost it.
Yeah.
The IT people are gonna love us. Okay, moving right along. General plan update.
Contract is signed with Michael Baker International. Have initiated already the first steps, which is all data gathering, things like that. You're not going to see much about for a while. However, our first internal meeting of substance will be January the 8th. We're doing what the consultant has classified as an immersion day. Basically, they will be in town for a full day meeting with all department heads and staff, whoever's in managers or whoever's appropriate. We call together one large group meeting to do that. And then there'll be a few select one-on-one interviews during the course of that day, and a brief driving tour of certain areas that will be defined between now and then. This is all with staff at this point, for the most part. And then once that is accomplished, we'll be looking towards some of the first community meetings, public input meetings, things of that nature. We'll be looking at doing them in Anthem, in 5 parks, and in downtown proper at various junctions in the process. But it's just now getting started, and it's basically a 15-month process.
This is my second time around on this, and I'm no smarter now than I was 10 years ago. But somewhere along the line, I'd like to see a stated goal, something that the general plan centers around. I mean, there's a lot of, give and take. We're going to not plan out as far as we were, or we're going to plan out further than we were. But something that says, in the next 10 years, this is where we're going, and this is the general plan that we're hanging around it. Am I making any sense?
Absolutely. That's going to be one of the early threshold points that we're going to be working on. That would be one of the first things we want to try to do, is define and get public buy-in, including yourselves, to a specific mission statement, if you will, or something of that nature.
Yes. That would, for me, now I got something to, when I look at the general plan, say, okay, where are we going here?
Exactly.
Great.
And then just to be fairly blunt, the current general plan, and I know that it won an award and all that kind of stuff, but it's not the way I do general plans. There's a lot of information, a lot of data that becomes obsolete the next time around anybody researches the data. There's a lot of fluff, but I'm a little tighter on those. I think we can cut the volume of the general plan in half.
That'd be great.
And get right into the meat of it. And all that data and all that information becomes appendices. And appendices can be updated at any time without having to reapprove a plan or go back to voters or anything else. And everybody's been put on notice on the consultant team that the implementation strategies have to be implementable to the point that it's going to be in English, so everybody understands them. It's going
verifiable.
It's going to be a people's plan, verifiable plan, and something that is going to be more than, this is going to be 10 years from now or 5 years from now. Okay, that's all well and good, but how is that going to happen? Who's going to pay for it? how, different resources depending on the nature of it. It's going to be tied more to specifics than what you normally would see in general plans. That's the way I've always done them. I have a few under my belt, and that's what the understanding is of our consultant at this point in time as to the expectation.
Well, just something to keep in mind, 15 years ago, we didn't have a planning and zoning department. We didn't have a planning department. So we were very much in our infancy as we began to build the department.
Well, you were actually at the mercy of the consultants.
Yeah, and they do what they do for every town. Just take it off the shelf, clean it up, and give it to you. Okay, is there anything else?
Not on the general plan.
Okay, moving to the next item, future agenda items. Another topic near and dear to my heart.
You've seen and you've responded, most of you, to Dana regarding the code updates, and he's taking care of his corrections on those modules. We'll be setting up the appropriate, future meetings, but not for December 19th. So as of today, we have no item scheduled for that meeting, which quite frankly is a little selfish on my part because I've already got council meeting on the 16th and HDAC meeting on the 18th. And you can only do so many night meetings in a week.
So we're not going to see you between now and Christmas?
Well, I'll stop by the house if you want.
Okay. A bottle.
We are going to move forward with that. And over the last 6 weeks or so, there have been a few issues that have come up that we have flagged that need to be amended in the code also. So there'll be like a little special side project coming along. Also, as far as code amendments that will be moving forward also in a draft form sometime in the near future.
They're always fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on agenda items?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Please.
Larry, I noted that the first Thursday of January is January 2nd.
That's not a holiday.
It is where I live.
As of now, we have nothing submitted, no action items that I anticipate for that evening. We're caught up on plats. As far as Planning Commission, preliminary plats, we're all caught up on anything that's been submitted for that. We've been actually spending most of our time at staff level reviewing plans, the detailed plans for the county buildings. The new attorney's building, by the way, the bid opening was for today. I have no idea what they got, but that was the bid opening on that. So that's kind of where we're focusing, is on all the stuff that you've already approved. Moving forward, all of the preliminary plats that you have approved to date are actually all being processed right now through council for final plats, and the appropriate engineering and improvement plans are accompanying them. With the only one that isn't on council agenda right now is the Mesquite Trail plan, and that's because they're still doing the improvement plans and getting those reviewed. So right now I have no active applications for the second either, but I'm not going to tell you it's canceled until we get closer to it and know that for a fact. Well, tell you what, if we end up canceling the meeting, we'll just convene over at Chairman Pranzo's house.
That'll work. Bring your own drinks. Okay. Anything more on future agenda items? Then we will move forward and call to the public. Commission response. I'll just make this easy. Do we have any public comments? I'll close that. Call to the commission. Current events only.
I saw a sign that this Friday evening there's a large Christmas celebration downtown. Come down and support our downtown area.
That's the light parade.
Yes.
Be there or be square.
And there will be snow.
I heard that. I heard that.
We just approved a TCO for the deck on the Silver King. There will be snow machines.
All right.
Fun.
What time does that start?
6 o'clock. And there'll be food trucks.
And there'll be food trucks.
entertainment.
There will be food trucks and other vendors there as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Any other current events? Okay, well then, our favorite part, do I have a motion for adjournment?
I'll make that motion. Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
So I have a motion by Commissioner Brow, second by Commissioner Simmons. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? We are adjourned.